Ladies, listen up. There comes a time in life when you have to stop explaining your worth to someone who refuses to see it. You have to stop waiting for them to realize your value. Because if they haven't by now, they never truly deserved you. You are not ordinary. You are fire. You are magic. And you are everything someone once prayed for. But here's the thing. You cannot waste your brilliance on someone who treats you like an afterthought. There's something unshakable about a woman who knows her worth. It's not arrogance, it's not ego, it's power. It's the realization that she is enough, just as she is. And when a woman understands that, there is nothing and no one that can make her feel small again. But let's be honest, the world doesn't always make it easy for us to remember that. Society, relationships, expectations, everything around us is constantly trying to make us question our own value. We are told to compromise, to adjust, to shrink ourselves so that others feel comfortable around us. And for too long, too many of us have done exactly that. We've apologized when we weren't wrong. We've tolerated less than we deserve. We've settled for breadcrumbs when we were capable of feasting at the grandest tables. And why? Because somewhere along the way, we started believing that love, validation, and respect were things we had to earn. Things that only belonged to us if we pleased everyone around us. But let me tell you something. Your worth is not up for negotiation. It is not defined by the attention someone gives you, the way they treat you, or the labels they put on you. Your worth existed long before someone recognized it, and it remains untouched even when someone fails to see it. The moment you start knowing your worth, you stop accepting the bare minimum. You stop begging for love, for effort, for commitment. You stop trying to convince someone to see your value because you already see it yourself. You understand that love is not meant to be begged for. It is meant to be given freely, deeply, and without hesitation. And if someone cannot give you that, it is their loss, not yours. When you know your worth, you stop making excuses for people who cannot rise to meet you. You stop waiting for them to change, to realize, to appreciate you. Instead, you shift your focus inward. You start investing in yourself. You build a life so full, so vibrant, so abundant that anyone who lets you go has no choice but to regret it. You grow in ways that make you untouchable. And let me be clear, knowing your worth doesn't mean you don't have moments of doubt. It doesn't mean you don't feel hurt or disappointed. It just means you refuse to stay in spaces where you are not valued. It means you walk away with your head held high, even when it hurts. Because the pain of walking away from the wrong people is always temporary. But the pain of staying where you are not valued, that lingers, that chips away at your soul. So, refuse to shrink, refuse to beg, refuse to settle. You are not difficult, you are not too much. You are a woman who knows what she deserves, and that is your power. When you walk away, do it with power, do it with grace, do it with the kind of confidence that leaves people questioning why they ever doubted you. Walking away is not about weakness, it is not about defeat, it is about strength. It is about knowing when something no longer serves you, no longer values you, and no longer aligns with the person you are becoming. It is about refusing to stay where you are not appreciated, respected, or cherished. Too many times people stay in places where their presence is taken for granted. They hold on, waiting for change, hoping for recognition, believing that if they just give a little more, love a little harder, or sacrifice a little longer, things will shift. But the truth is, nothing shifts unless you decide it does. If someone hasn't valued you by now, they probably never will. If someone doesn't see your worth while you are standing in front of them, giving them your best, then your absence is the only thing that will make them realize it. Walking away with power means you do not plead for closure. You do not wait for explanations that will never come. You do not chase someone who has already shown you their level of investment. Instead, you take all that energy and redirect it into yourself. You rebuild, you rise, you evolve. And when you do, something incredible happens. The very people who once underestimated you suddenly want your attention. They start noticing what they failed to appreciate before. But by then it is too late. Because you have walked away, and you have done so in a way that leaves no room for doubt. Power is not in the leaving itself, but in how you leave. You don't walk away with bitterness. You don't walk away with a heart full of resentment. You walk away knowing you gave your best, knowing you stood tall, knowing you loved with all your heart, but also knowing that you will never beg to be seen. Your love is a privilege, not a right. Your presence is a gift, not an obligation. And the moment someone treats it otherwise, you owe it to yourself to step back, not with sadness, but with certainty. There is something undeniably magnetic about a person who chooses themselves. It is the kind of energy that speaks louder than words. It says, I know what I bring to the table, and I am no longer interested in convincing anyone of my worth. That energy is felt. That presence is missed. That power cannot be ignored. When you walk away with power, you do not leave empty-handed. You take lessons, you take growth, you take wisdom. You emerge stronger, wiser, and more in tune with who you are. And even though they may not say it, even though they may never admit it, they will feel your absence. They will feel the shift. Because the truth is, people only realize the value of something when it's gone. And when they finally do, you will be too far ahead, too evolved, too radiant to ever look back. Glowing up and leveling up is not just about changing how you look, it's about transforming your entire life. It's about stepping into the best version of yourself, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. It's about shifting your mindset, elevating your standards, and creating a life so fulfilling that anyone who ever doubted you is left speechless. The first step to a true glow-up is self-awareness. You have to recognize where you are and where you want to be. This means taking a hard look at your habits, your mindset, your circle, and your choices. Are they helping you grow, or are they keeping you stuck? Because the truth is, you cannot level up while holding on to people, thoughts, and environments that drag you down. You have to be willing to let go of anything that no longer aligns with your vision. Your glow up starts from the inside. It begins with healing, with self-love, with refusing to let your past define your future. It means no longer carrying the weight of people who hurt you, no longer replaying the same old stories of betrayal, rejection, or failure. Instead, you rewrite the narrative. You remind yourself that every setback was a setup for something greater. You choose growth over bitterness, evolution over stagnation. And when you do that, everything around you begins to shift. Your mental and emotional glow up is the foundation of everything. It's about learning to speak to yourself with kindness, to set boundaries without guilt, and to believe in your worth without needing validation from anyone else. It's about walking into every room with the energy of someone who knows they belong there. It's about carrying yourself with confidence, not arrogance, but an unshakable belief that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to. Then comes the physical glow up. This isn't about fitting into a certain beauty standard. It's about taking care of yourself because you deserve to feel good in your own skin. It's about moving your body, fueling it with what makes you feel strong, dressing in a way that makes you feel powerful, and presenting yourself in a way that reflects your highest self. It's about looking in the mirror and loving what you see, not because of how others perceive you, but because you've put in the effort to become someone you are proud of. And let's talk about leveling up financially. Leveling up because a glow up isn't just about looking good. It's about securing your future. It's about educating yourself, making smart moves, and building independence so that you never have to rely on anyone for your stability. It's about creating opportunities for yourself, stepping into new spaces, and refusing to limit yourself to what you once thought was possible. Most importantly, glowing up and leveling up is about proving to yourself that you are unstoppable. It's about becoming so focused on your own journey, your own progress, and your own happiness that you no longer have time to look back. Because once you commit to your growth, once you start moving with intention, once you stop settling, everything changes. And when that happens, the people who once took you for granted will have no choice but to watch from a distance as you rise higher than they ever imagined. Silence is a language of its own. It is powerful, undeniable, and often the loudest response you can give to someone who has underestimated you. While words can be twisted, ignored, or dismissed, silence is felt. It lingers in the air, forcing people to sit with their own thoughts, their own actions, and the consequences of taking you for granted. There is a moment in life when you realize that not every action requires a reaction. Not every insult deserves a response, and not every betrayal needs to be confronted. There is strength in knowing when to walk away, when to disengage, when to let your absence do all the talking. Silence is not weakness, it is control. It is the ability to withhold your energy from situations that do not serve you. People expect a reaction. They expect you to plead, to fight, to explain yourself. They expect you to beg for understanding, to chase them for closure, to prove your worth. And when you don't, when you remain still, poised, and unbothered, that is when your presence, or rather, your absence, becomes impossible to ignore. They start wondering why you are not fighting for them, why you are not demanding answers, why you have chosen to step back instead of stepping forward. Silence shifts the power dynamic. The moment you stop justifying, stop defending, stop trying to be heard by people who never listened in the first place, you reclaim your power. Because here's the truth, people don't truly appreciate what they have until it is gone. And nothing feels more suffocating than realizing someone who once cared has now chosen to be indifferent. Silence forces reflection. When you remove your presence, your voice, and your energy from someone's life, they are left with nothing but their own thoughts. They replay conversations, they rethink their choices, they start to feel the emptiness that your silence creates. And in that emptiness, they realize what they have lost. They realize that they can no longer reach you, that their words no longer affect you, that their absence no longer shakes you. Silence is also the greatest teacher. It teaches you patience, self-control, and the ability to rise above the noise. It allows you to process things on your own terms, without external influences clouding your judgment. It helps you see people for who they truly are, because when you stop speaking, when you stop trying, when you stop reaching out, you get to see who actually makes an effort to reach back. And if no one does, that silence is your answer. Choosing silence does not mean you do not care. It does not mean you are weak. It means you have chosen peace over chaos, dignity over desperation, and self-respect over validation. It means you have decided that your energy is too valuable to be wasted on those who do not appreciate it. And when people finally understand that you are done, when they see that no amount of manipulation, guilt, or empty promises can pull you back, that is when they feel the weight of your absence the most. Because nothing haunts a person more than the silence of someone who once gave them everything. Karma is the silent force that balances the universe. It moves in ways we cannot always see, but it never fails to deliver. When you've been wronged, betrayed, or taken for granted, the natural instinct is to seek justice, to make them feel what they made you feel, to prove a point. But the truth is, you don't need to do anything. You don't need revenge. You don't need to beg for closure. You don't need to waste your energy trying to make someone realize your worth. The universe is already at work, and karma will handle it far better than you ever could. There is something incredibly powerful about stepping back and allowing things to unfold naturally. When you force a reaction, when you try to make someone see their mistakes, you are still giving them access to your energy. But when you remove yourself, when you refuse to engage, when you let go completely, that's when the shift happens. That's when karma takes over. Karma doesn't always work on our timeline, and that's what makes it difficult to trust. You might not see immediate consequences. You might feel like they are moving on effortlessly, living their best life, completely unaffected by the pain they caused. But understand this, nobody truly escapes karma. What goes around always comes back around. The energy people put out into the world is the same energy that returns to them, whether today, tomorrow, or years down the line. The best thing you can do is step aside and focus on yourself. Stop checking in to see if they are suffering. Stop wondering when their moment of regret will come, because the moment you truly let go, the moment you stop caring whether they face consequences or not, is the moment you free yourself. And ironically, that's usually when karma starts working the fastest. People who hurt others, who take love for granted, who betray trust, they may seem to move on easily, but their actions follow them. They repeat cycles, they attract the same kind of pain they once caused, they find themselves in situations where they finally understand what they put you through, and by the time they realize what they lost, you will be so far ahead, so healed, so unbothered, that their regret will mean nothing to you. Karma is not about watching someone else suffer. It's about trusting that justice exists in ways you don't need to control. It's about knowing that every action has consequences and that no one can escape the lessons they are meant to learn. You don't have to teach them a lesson. Life will do that for you. Instead of waiting for karma to work against them, let it work for you. Focus on your growth. Invest in your happiness. Elevate yourself so high that when they finally understand what they lost, you are no longer within their reach. Because the greatest karma of all is not their suffering, it's your success. It's you becoming someone they can only admire from a distance, someone they once had but can never have again.